Hey everybody, it's Joey Bailey with Created in Awe here. I can't wait to show you this project. I originally recorded it on Facebook, so I've done some editing to this video and a voiceover to explain step by step how I made this adorable sign.
Hey everybody, it's Joey Bailey with Created in Awe. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I do hope you enjoy seeing what we're doing today, and if so, you can subscribe for more and also see live tutorials on Facebook. Here we go.
So I'll explain a little bit about this cabinet door. I got it from my local restore. It was already painted in this off-white color. On a previous video, I antiqued it a little bit and I painted the center section with chalkboard paint. I've already used it once or twice and cleaned it off, but I left remnants of that chalk on there to give it kind of an old feel, and it does have a really rough painted edge to that center section. So moving on, we're going to use this vegetable garden sign and a couple of other pieces that all comes together in a stencil from my website with Magnolia to Design Co. You can always get those supplies if you go to createdinawe.magnoliadesignco.com. Otherwise, I will be putting links to all of these supplies that I'm using down in the comments or in the description of this video. So we start off by taking this portion of the stencil off of the backer sheet. I have used it a couple of times before, but it is still pretty sticky. And when I put it on a smooth surface like a chalkboard, it can stick hard enough that when you pull it off, it stretches. And I am speeding up this video a little bit so that we can get through the process a little bit quicker. So you put it on this fabric that we call a tacky towel, or you can use a t-shirt or an old tea towel if you like. Lay it on there several times if it's brand new, or if you've used it a couple of times, at least once or twice. So I'm laying it on the tacky towel several times because the chalkboard surface is so sticky. It's giving it several chances to pick up a little bit of lint, make it a little less sticky. And there's a few extra things apparently on my tacky towel, so I do have to check and pull things off that shouldn't be there, that give it a little bit of a lump underneath. So here I am checking again. So I placed it on my board, on my cabinet door where I want it to be, and I'm smoothing it out, getting all of the air bubbles out, any wrinkles, and basically making sure that design is fully pressed down to the surface. You want all of those intricate details to show. That's the purpose of these stencils. They're sticky on the back, they're made out of vinyl, and they have a layer of mesh over the top that holds all of that design together. Gives you a chance to really create a gorgeous design without a lot of work. So I'm picking between my two colors of paste here, and I'm checking the board behind. I go through kind of a process with my colors sometimes, so I'm going to skip ahead until we're ready to stencil. I chose the color Almond Latte. It's a pretty close match to the actual paint color of the cabinet door back there, so it's going to be a nice blend. Put a couple of dollops at one edge of the stencil, and I'm using a fairly large squeegee. It's called our cut apart squeegee. It's a little larger than our mini squeegees, and I just simply spread it across, kind of like you do when you're buttering soft bread. You do it gently. You don't drag it really hard because you don't want to actually move that stencil. So I've applied a nice thick coat, fairly thick. You can't see through it in a lot of places. Now I go back and I remove the excess. I give it a little more pressure, clean off the excess paste, and I'm looking through to make sure there aren't any like thick areas that I consider ridge lines that are going to affect the image. And I start removing the stencil carefully, take my time so that if there's, it's fast here, but I did take my time so that if I had missed any spots, I could touch those up. But I am looking for a distressed finish, so I think I got a pretty good image from this. It's so pretty. Here you go. So now we are going to work with another part of the stencil. They are to look like seed packets. You can kind of see here. And I'm going to apply these to paper. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with it here in just a second. Let's put the cabinet door aside. And I'm going to get out some craft paper. This is just standard craft paper you can get at even Dollar Tree or your craft stores. And I have some Waverly chalk paint in the color Cashew. It's a nice kind of aged old world color. I'm just going to paint the paper. Now don't overwork it because your paper will become wet from the water that's in the paint and it can become delicate and rip. So try not to overwork too many places. If it starts to stretch or kind of get wrinkled, then dab it instead of, you know, brushing it on. I'm using a sponge dauber also. That's helping get more paint on the paper. So I'm getting as much on as I can close to the edges. A big enough area that, see, I'm going to be able to stencil with that stencil at least 3 times is my goal. So I'm adding a little more paint around the edges to give me a large enough area of the painted paper that we can fit the stencil on. Add a little bit more paint, and we're going to get it fully dried. So I have a tip for you here with the paper. I did some wrinkling to it as I was drying it. Don't do that. I should have waited until after I finished stenciling. That's my tip, and I'll show you here in a little while. So I'll deal with it. But we're going to fuzz the seed packet stencil from this set several times. I don't want it to pull that paint off of the paper. So apply a lot of fuzz to the back so it's easy to pull off. And once I have done that, you can see I did it a bunch of times, then I will place it down on the painted section of the paper and stencil on it with ink. The reason I use ink is the formulation of paste is such that when it dries, it becomes hard and rigid. So the paper itself, if it bends, then the paste on top will actually flake and fall off. Ink will not do that. It will bend with the paper because it's designed to go with fabric that actually bends. So I'm applying this black glittering ink in the same manner I did the paste on the chalkboard. Press that stencil down, remove all of the air bubbles, and I spread the paste across, or sorry, this time ink, with the squeegee. Now, I'm going to show you, or I'm going to explain to you, a couple of spots there bled. And that was because of the wrinkles that I placed in the paper. I'll show you up close here. I've put the stencil in a water bath. See the letter D? That has a little bit of bleeding. There's other spots like that. So I'm going to wash this stencil real quick. It doesn't have to be washed in between each one because there was ink on the back of it from bleeding. It needed it. So I'm put it in the water bath using my stencil cleaner to clean the ink off of the front of the stencil. Kind of use my hands on the back. I'm going to grab that tacky towel. On the back side is gray, and it's a material that's a really smooth, almost like velour, and it helps me to clean my stencil without adding a whole lot of extra fuzz to it. But there's some ink remnants, so I'm going to get a disinfecting wipe. This is not a baby wipe. This has no oil in it. It's disinfecting, like a Clorox or Lysol wipe. I'm going to clean off the back, make sure all that ink is removed, and now I'm drying it using the back of that tacky towel. So I want it fully dry before I put it back on the paper in another spot. So now I have to add a little bit of fuzz again because I cleaned some off in the cleaning process. Only because we're putting it on that painted paper. If it was another surface, more than likely there was enough fuzz on the back of it. So let's put it back down again. So I skipped ahead. I'm showing you that I've actually done 3 seed packets. I'm going to use this paper as it is after everything is dry, and I'm going to cut out a second layer of craft paper at the same time I cut out these seed packets. You'll see here in a second, so that we have a front and a back to our seed packets. I can glue it together like a pocket almost and fill it so it looks like it has seeds in it. Before I actually fill it, I'm going to stencil some vegetable images on the front of the seed packet, but right here I'm just going to show you real quick how I'm going to cut this out, and I will be filling it with just a piece of a plastic bag. You can use just about anything to fill it that you want, a paper towel, whatever you have on hand. So I'll be gluing all the way around with that inside and the image of the vegetables on the front, and I'm punching holes in it. The holes are so I can string that piece of jute through each of the seed packets so they can be hanging on the 2 knobs that are attached to that cabinet door. Something that's not on video besides finishing that stenciling and gluing the seed packets is I added a little bit of Distress Oxide to the painted area along with the ink on the cover of those seed packets just to make them look a little bit more aged. This is what it looks like. I am so excited about this project. It's so cute. And those vegetable images also came in the vegetable garden stencil set. All of the supplies that I've used are going to be listed down in the description of the video, and links to my website if you need to access anything. Thanks so much for watching Created in Awe here on YouTube. You can see this full tutorial on my Facebook page and a lot more. See you soon.